You have seen the tears of the Almighty. You have felt the weight of His silent lament. But here is the mystery that the world cannot comprehend. You have the power to change the atmosphere of heaven. You are not just a forgiven sinner. You are a potential source of divine delight. The heart that was broken by your rebellion can be healed by your devotion. There is a radical remnant rising, a group of people who no longer ask, "What can God do for me?" but instead ask, "What can I do for the heart of God?" They are the ones who stop the weeping of the angels and cause the Father to break into singing. They don't just follow rules, they chase the heartbeat of the King. This is the revenge of love. It is the decision to outlove the world's hate and to outworship the world's apathy. In this series, we will master the 10 statutes that turn a rebellious creature into a divine consolation. The Creator has waited long enough for a generation that truly knows Him. It is time to stop being the cause of His grief and start being the reason for His smile. The healing begins now. Article 1. The Statute of Unfiltered Vulnerability, the death of the religious mask. The first act that begins the healing of the divine heart is the total destruction of the mask. God self-reproaches over our religious performance, but He finds infinite solace in our raw honesty. The first statute of the radical remnant is the decision to be unfiltered before the throne. We have spent our lives presenting a sanitized version of ourselves to a God who already sees the rot in our bones. We hide our doubts, our rage, and our secret failures behind a thin veil of piety, and in doing so, we shut the Father out of the very places He wants to heal. Healing the heart of God starts when you stop lying to Him. He is not impressed by your theological accuracy if your heart is a hollow cavern. He laments the distance created by our perfectionism, but He is deeply moved by the stuttering, tear-filled confession of a soul that has finally stopped running. When you bring your genuine, messy, and broken self into the secret place, you are telling the Creator that you trust His love more than you fear His judgment. This vulnerability is the first bridge. While the world builds walls of ego and social media filters, the remnant builds an altar of authenticity. To heal the Father's heart, you must give Him access to the real you, not the version you think He wants, but the one that is actually bleeding. This act of trust is a soothing balm to the God who has been lied to since the Garden of Eden. When one child stops pretending, the Father's loneliness begins to fade. Your honesty is the first step in restoring the intimacy that sin destroyed. Article 2. The Statute of Wasted Worship, the extravagance of the heart. The second act that heals the divine heart is extravagance. The world is obsessed with efficiency and utility, even in religion. We ask, "How little can I do to stay saved?" But the heart of God is healed by wasted worship. This is the statute of the alabaster box. The decision to pour out your most precious resources, your time, your tears, and your future, at His feet without any concern for the return on investment. God laments the calculated worshiper, who gives Him 60 minutes on Sunday and expects a week of blessings in return. But He is exhilarated by the one who wastes their life on Him. This is the worship that doesn't look at the clock. It is the prayer that continues long after the list is finished. It is the service that goes unnoticed by man but is recorded in the scrolls of heaven. When you give God more than what is fair or reasonable, you are healing the wound of the hirelings who only serve Him for what they can get. Extravagant devotion tells the Creator that He is worth it. It is a physical declaration that His presence is more valuable than your reputation or your comfort. While the world treats God like a backup plan, the remnant treats Him as the only plan. This wasteful love is a sweet fragrance that fills the halls of heaven, drowning out the stench of the world's apathy. To heal His heart, you must love Him with a recklessness that makes the world call you a fool. When you lose yourself in Him, He finds the joy He has been searching for since the beginning of time. Article 3. The Statute of Public Identification, owning the name. The third and profoundly healing act for the divine heart is the radical act of public identification. In a world that demands neutrality, compromise, and the quiet assimilation into the gray mass of cultural norms, the Creator is deeply moved by the bold, unapologetic declaration, "I belong to Him." God laments the hidden disciples, those who claim His name in secret but deny Him in public. fearing the laughter of men more than the sorrow of heaven. Healing his heart begins when you stop being a secret agent for the kingdom and become a defiant banner-bearer in the public square. 2. Heal the Father's heart. You must reclaim his name. This is not about arrogant proselytizing. It is about living so authentically connected to the divine that your life itself becomes a living sermon. It is the willingness to stand in the midst of a hostile culture and declare, "My allegiance is not to this world, but to the King of Kings." God grieves the spiritual cowardice that keeps his children silent when his truth is being trampled. He laments the generation that prioritizes social acceptance over divine affirmation. The ultimate healing balm for his heart is when a son or daughter, with eyes fixed on him, chooses to openly identify with the one who was publicly shamed and crucified for them. This act of public identification is a powerful antidote to the loneliness of the holy that God experiences. Every time you refuse to compromise your values, every time you speak a word of truth in love, every time you choose his path over the popular path, you are telling the universe that the Creator is worth standing for. You become a living testimony that his love is more valuable than any earthly reputation. This is the lion's roar of the remnant, the courage to unapologetically bear his name. Even when it costs you everything, when you own his name, you are restoring the glory that was stolen from him in the public square. Your courage becomes a song in heaven, proclaiming that God is not dead or irrelevant, but alive and fiercely loved by his own. Article 4. The statute of the first fruits of the mind, the sacredness of thought. The fourth profoundly healing act for the divine heart is the sacred offering of the first fruits of your mind. In an age defined by mental clutter, distraction, and the constant bombardment of digital noise, the Creator deeply yearns for the focused, intentional, and purified attention of his children. God laments the desecrated temple of the mind, the internal sanctuary that he designed for communion, which we have turned into a chaotic marketplace of anxiety, lust, and worldly ambitions. Healing his heart begins when you consciously choose to bring your very first thoughts, your deepest meditations, and your most potent intellectual energies to him. This is more than just thinking about God, it is an active act of mental stewardship. It is waking up and consciously saying, "My first thoughts today are for you, Lord." It is the discipline of capturing every thought and bringing it into alignment with his truth, refusing to let the secular noise dominate your inner world. God grieves the mental apathy that allows our minds to be polluted by the world's garbage, the endless scrolling, the toxic comparisons, the constant worrying, leaving him with only the leftover fragments of our exhausted attention. He laments because we give our best mental energy to our careers, our entertainment, and our anxieties, while his presence becomes an afterthought. The first fruits of the mind are a balm to his heart because they declare that he is your priority. It is a tangible demonstration that you consider his wisdom more valuable than human opinions, and his peace more desirable than worldly success. This intentional mental devotion is the great clearing, a process that purifies the internal landscape of your soul, making it a fitting dwelling place for his presence. While the world's systems fight for your attention, the remnant actively chooses to enthrone the Creator in the very center of their thoughts. Your disciplined mind becomes a sacred altar, offering incense of pure meditation. When you give him the first and best of your thoughts, you are telling the Almighty that he is worthy of your deepest reverence and your highest intellectual pursuit, thereby restoring the dignity of the temple he placed within you. Article 5. The statute of radical stewardship, the sacrifice of the second mile. The fifth act that offers a profound healing balm to the divine heart is the statute of radical stewardship, specifically manifested through the sacrifice of the second mile. In a world dominated by the spirit of just enough, where people give the bare minimum to soothe their consciences, the Creator is deeply moved by the soul that seeks to outpour beyond the requirements of the law. God laments the contractual Christian, the one who treats their relationship with the Almighty like a legal transaction, meticulously calculating their tithes, their time, and their service to ensure they don't give too much. This transactional mindset is a piercing thorn in the heart of the Father, as it mirrors the coldness of a servant rather than the passion of a child. Healing the heart of God begins when you move from obligation to overflow. It is the decision to go the second mile when only one was demanded. This stewardship is not merely about money. It is about the radical management of your entire existence as a gift back to the giver. God grieves the stagnant heart that hoards its resources, talents, and affections for fear of scarcity. He laments the wasted potential of those who bury their talents in the earth of their own comfort. But when you live with an open-handed extravagance, giving your best energy to the broken, your deepest compassion to the unlovable, and your secret resources to the kingdom, you are telling the Father that you trust His abundance more than your own security. This radical stewardship is a physical declaration that the Creator is the true owner of your life. It is the widow's mite, multiplied across every area of your being. While the world asks, "How much can I keep?" the remnant asks, "How much more can I give?" This second mile sacrifice is a sweet fragrance that reaches the throne. For it replicates the very nature of Christ, who did not just pay the price, but emptied Himself completely. When you live to bless others at your own expense, you are healing the wound of selfishness that has plagued humanity since the beginning. You become the hands of God in a stingy world, and in doing so, you bring a smile to the face of the one who gave everything for you. Article 6. The Statute of Holy Intercession, the Grief-Bearer's Stand. The sixth act that heals the divine heart is the sacred stand of holy intercession. In a generation that is quick to criticize, eager to mock, and obsessed with calling out the failures of others, the Creator yearns for those who will stand in the gap. God laments the spiritual spectator, the one who watches the world burn and the church stumble, only to comment on the wreckage with a spirit of superiority. He grieves the absence of the weeper, the one who feels the weight of the world's sin not as a reason to judge, but as a reason to cry out for mercy. Healing his heart begins when you stop being a judge and start being a priest. 2. Heal the Father's heart. You must become a grief-bearer. This is the statute of the intercessor, the decision to take the burdens of others, and even the sins of your nation, and lay them before the throne as if they were your own. God self-reproaches, because He looks for someone to stand in the breach to prevent destruction. But so often He finds the line empty. He laments the prayerlessness that leaves the world defenseless. But when you enter the secret place, and groan for the souls of those who do not know how to pray for themselves, you are performing a divine work of restoration. You are mimicking the eternal intercession of the Son, who stands at the right hand of the Father constantly pleading for us. Holy intercession is the highest form of love because it is entirely selfless. No one sees it, and the one you pray for may never thank you. It tells the Creator that you share His heart for the lost. While the world's activism is often loud and performative, the remnant's intercession is quiet and transformative. By taking up this mantle, you are easing the burden of the Father's grief over a rebellious race. You become a shield-bearer for the kingdom, catching the arrows of judgment and transforming them into showers of grace through your tears. When you pray with a broken heart for a broken world, you are telling the Almighty that His children are still worth saving. And that act of faith is a powerful medicine to His wounded heart. Article 7. The Statute of Radical Forgiveness, the Mirror of Grace. The seventh act that serves as a profound healing ointment to the divine heart is the statute of radical forgiveness. In a world that is intoxicated by the spirit of cancel culture, where revenge is celebrated as justice and bitterness is nurtured like a sacred treasure, the Creator is deeply moved by the soul that chooses to release its captors. God laments the unforgiving servant, the one who has been washed in the infinite ocean of divine mercy, yet refuses to offer a single drop of that mercy to a fellow human being. This hypocrisy is a jagged blade in the heart of the Father, as it mocks the very sacrifice of Golgotha. When we hold onto grudges, we are essentially declaring that our personal pain is more significant than the blood of the Lamb. Healing the heart of God begins when you stop acting as a self-appointed judge and start acting as a mirror of grace. Radical forgiveness is not a feeling. It is a violent act of the will to surrender your right to vengeance. God grieves the spiritual poison that infects His children when they harbor resentment. For He knows that bitterness is the grave where intimacy with Him goes to die. He laments when we use the same mouth that prays for His forgiveness to demand the neck of our enemies. But when you choose to forgive those who have shattered your heart, those who do not deserve it and have not even asked for it, you are performing a miracle that echoes throughout the halls of heaven. You are telling the Father that His mercy is enough for you. And in doing so, you are validating His greatest work. This statute is the ultimate imitation. It is the moment you look like Christ more than any other. While the world demands blood for blood, the remnant offers blood for life. This forgiveness is a soothing balm to the Father's heart because it finally allows the cycle of the fall to be broken within you. It tells the Creator that His nature has truly taken root in your soul. By releasing your debtors, you are clearing the blockage that prevents His joy from flowing through you. You become a conduit of the kingdom, and in that act of letting go, you ease the burden of the Father who has watched His children devour one another since the beginning of time. Article 8. The Statute of Sacred Silence, Hearing the Heartbeat. The eighth act that heals the divine heart is the Statute of Sacred Silence. In a generation that is addicted to the sound of its own voice, a society where silence is feared and noise is used to drown out the conviction of the Spirit, the Creator yearns for the soul that is brave enough to be still. God laments the noisy disciple, the one who enters the secret place with a roar of demands, a list of complaints, and a flurry of religious chatter, but never stays long enough to listen. This one-sided relationship is a deep sorrow to the Father, for it treats the Almighty like a cosmic answering machine rather than a living, breathing companion. 2. Heal the Father's heart. You must master the art of the sacred pause. This is the decision to shut out the world, silence your internal monologue, and simply be with Him. God self-reproaches, because He has infinite mysteries, profound comforts, and world-shaping secrets to share, but He finds no one quiet enough to hear His whisper. He laments the digital chatter that has eroded the sanctuary of the mind. But when you enter into intentional, prolonged silence, not to ask for things, but to simply lean your head against His chest, you are performing an act of radical devotion. You are telling the Creator that His presence alone is more valuable than any answer He could give you. Sacred silence is the language of the kingdom. It is the highest form of intimacy, where words become unnecessary because hearts are synchronized. While the world's spiritualists seek experiences and loud manifestations, the remnant seeks the still, small voice. This stillness is a medicine to the Father's heart because it restores the peace of the Garden of Eden. It tells the Almighty that you love Him for who He is, not just for what He does. By choosing to be still, you are healing the wound of God's loneliness among the crowd. You become a dweller in the secret place, and in that silence, you finally hear the heartbeat of the Father, bringing Him the comfort of being truly understood by His child. Article 9. The Statute of Pure Joy, the Celebration of the Father. The ninth act that brings a profound healing to the divine heart is the Statute of Pure Joy. We often forget that the Creator is not only a man of sorrows, but the very source of joy. God laments the morose disciple, the one who follows Him out of a sense of grim duty, heavy obligation, or fearful legalism. To live a life of constant gloom while claiming to serve the King of Glory is a quiet slander against His character. It suggests to the world that God is a harsh taskmaster rather than a loving Father. Healing His heart begins when you choose to find your ultimate satisfaction in Him, becoming a living testament to His goodness. God self-reproaches because He has provided a feast of grace. Yet His children often act like they are at a funeral. He grieves when we seek our pleasure in the broken cisterns of the world while ignoring the fountain of living water standing right in front of us. But when you operate in pure joy, a joy that is independent of your circumstances and rooted entirely in His presence, you are performing a radical act of spiritual warfare. You are telling the universe that the Creator is enough. This joy is a healing balm because it vindicates God's heart. It proves that His company is the highest prize a human soul can attain. 2. Heal the Father's heart. You must learn to celebrate Him. This is the joy that sings in the midnight of the prison cell and dances in the face of the furnace. It tells the Almighty that His love has successfully transformed your mourning into dancing. While the world chases the fleeting highs of sin, the remnant dwells in the eternal high of His favor. Your laughter, rooted in the security of His salvation, is a sweet sound that drowns out the accusations of the enemy. When you are truly happy in God, you fulfill the very purpose of your creation, and in that fulfillment, the Father finds his deepest rest. You become his delight, turning his ancient grief into a new song of celebration. Article 10. The Statute of Eternal Vigilance, Waiting for the King. The 10th and final act that completes the healing of the divine heart is the Statute of Eternal Vigilance. As the shadows of this age lengthen, the Creator laments the slumbering soul, the one who has become so comfortable in the world that they have stopped watching for his return. He grieves the adulterous heart that has fallen in love with the prison cell and forgotten the groom who is coming to open the gates. Healing his heart involves the restoration of a holy longing, a vigilance that declares, "This world is not my home, I am waiting for my King." God self-reproaches, because he has prepared a place for us. Yet so few are actually looking toward the horizon. He grieves when his children act as if the temporary structures of man are permanent, investing all their hope in a sinking ship. But the radical remnant lives with lamps trimmed in oil burning. This vigilance is a healing act because it proves that you value his presence above all earthly kingdoms. It is the posture of the bride who listens for the footsteps of her beloved in the night. Every moment you spend watching, every prayer that cries out, "Maranatha," is a soothing message to the heart of God that he is wanted. 2. Heal the Father's heart finally and fully. You must live as a citizen of the world to come. This vigilance is not a fearful hiding, but a triumphant expectation. It tells the Creator that the great ransom was not wasted on you. For your heart is already where he is, while the world sleeps in the intoxication of its own pride. The remnant stands on the watchtower. This eternal focus is the ultimate medicine for the lament of the closed door. When the King finally returns and finds a people who were actually waiting for him, his joy will be made complete. You are the welcome home that the Father has yearned for since the fall of man. Your vigilance is the final bridge, crossing the chasm of time to meet the one who has never stopped loving you. The journey is complete. We have traveled from the deepest trenches of the Creator's grief to the breathtaking heights of his joy. You have learned a terrifying yet beautiful truth. You are not a bystander in the story of God. You are the one chosen to heal the heart of the one who made you. You are now equipped with the 10 statutes of the radical remnant, the secrets to becoming the Father's greatest delight. You no longer have the luxury of living a lukewarm life. You have seen his tears, now you must become his song. To seal this transformation and begin the work of healing, I call you to these 3 acts. The choice. Select one of the 10 statutes we have explored. Starting this very hour, commit to practicing it with a radical, uncompromising devotion. The transmission. This message was not for you alone. There is a soul in your circle drowning in religious noise who needs to know that God is a Father to be loved, not a system to be managed. Send this to them. The covenant. Subscribe and stand with this remnant. We are moving from mere understanding into the manifestation of his kingdom. The King is no longer just waiting, he is watching. He is looking for those who will turn his ancient sorrow into a new celebration. Go now, and live as the answer to the Father's prayers. His lament ends where your devotion begins. Amen.